The penthouse on the 72nd floor of the city's tallest tower gleamed under the early morning sun, reflecting glass and steel like a monument to power. Aria Kensington, barely 18, stepped out of the black limousine, her heart pounding as she gazed up at the doors she was about to enter. Everything in her life had changed overnight. Her parents' decision, whispered in secret, had sealed her fate. She was now legally married to Dominic Caldwell, one of the wealthiest and most powerful men in the country. Dominic was everything she had imagined and feared. Tall, impeccably dressed, and radiating authority that made people around him flinch without realizing why. His eyes, a steely gray, measured her as if calculating her worth in real time. There was no warmth in his gaze, only control. "Aria," he said smoothly, voice calm but commanding, "welcome to your new life." She swallowed, feeling the weight of a reality she hadn't asked for. This was more than a marriage, it was a business arrangement. Her parents had promised security, influence, and protection, but at a price she hadn't fully understood: her freedom. Inside the penthouse, the walls were lined with art she didn't recognize, books she had never read, and technology she barely understood. A soft hum of hidden machines reminded her that she had stepped into a world that existed on wealth, secrecy, and power. Dominic led her to a small sitting area. "You will learn quickly," he said. "In this household, appearances are everything and knowledge is power. Some doors are open to you. Others will remain locked until you're ready." Aria's pulse quickened. She had already sensed that the world she was entering was layered with rules she didn't know. Her mind wandered to her parents, wondering if they truly believed this arrangement would protect her, or if they had been trading her for their ambitions. That night she lay in the guest room that had been hastily prepared for her, staring at the ceiling. Her thoughts were a storm. Who is Dominic really? What does he hide behind that cold exterior? And what if I'm not prepared for the life I've just been thrust into? A faint click echoed from the study across the hall. The door was locked, but she felt its presence, a barrier to secrets she wasn't meant to uncover yet. Something about the room called to her, and a strange mix of fear and curiosity surged through her. Her phone buzzed, a message from her mother. "Remember, Aria, some truths are dangerous. Trust carefully." Aria's stomach twisted. She realized this marriage was only the first step into a world she didn't understand, where every smile, every gesture, every word could hide motives, power plays, and secrets. The night felt impossibly long. Somewhere in the shadows of the penthouse, Dominic moved silently, and Aria knew one terrifying fact. In this world, knowledge was not just power, it was survival, and she had none yet. The next morning, sunlight poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Caldwell penthouse, but it brought no warmth to Aria. She walked cautiously down the marble hallway, her silk robe brushing the polished floor, each step echoing like a countdown. The previous night's storm of thoughts still raged inside her. Dominic's calm, commanding presence left a strange chill. She knew instinctively that this marriage was only the beginning of a game she didn't yet understand. Breakfast was silent. Dominic sat at the sleek glass table, reading a digital tablet, his expression unreadable. The staff moved around him like shadows, adjusting his coffee, refilling glasses, and bowing with meticulous precision. Everything here screamed power, an unyielding control that extended to every detail of Aria's new life. "Eat," Dominic said finally, without looking up. His voice was smooth, yet carried a weight that made her pause. She picked up her plate but barely touched it. The food seemed tasteless compared to the storm of anxiety in her mind. Her curiosity, however, was a persistent whisper. Across the hall, the study door loomed, locked and forbidden. Her pulse quickened every time her eyes flicked toward it. Something inside her screamed that the key to understanding Dominic's world, and the reason her parents had agreed to this arrangement, lay behind that door. After breakfast, she wandered near the study, pretending to examine the artwork along the corridor. Dominic entered silently, his shadow falling across the doorway. "You're staring at doors you shouldn't," he said, his voice measured but sharp, like ice sliding over glass. Aria started, but Dominic cut her off with a raised hand. "Curiosity in this house is dangerous, Aria. Questions can get you answers, but answers can get you destroyed." Her stomach twisted. Was he warning her, threatening her, or trying to test her? She didn't know, but one thing was clear. Dominic's world was not just about wealth. It was about secrets, influence, and survival. Later, alone in her room, she examined her phone again. Messages from her parents were sparse, distant. She realized she was alone in this luxurious cage, with only Dominic's rules and the strange hum of the penthouse's hidden mechanisms to guide her. A soft knock at the door startled her. It was Marlene, Dominic's personal assistant. She held a silver tray with a small envelope and a single sheet of paper. "For your eyes only, read carefully." Aria's hands trembled as she unfolded it. The note was brief but chilling. "Aria, not everything here is as it seems. Trust your instincts. Some doors are meant to be opened, but only when you are ready." Her pulse surged. This was more than a warning, it was an invitation. Something in Dominic's past, in her parents' decisions, lay hidden behind those walls. She couldn't ignore it. Hours later, while exploring the penthouse under the pretext of arranging her room, Aria tried the study door again. She pressed her fingers to the cold brass handle. It wouldn't budge. She could feel the hum of the electronic lock beneath her palm, sophisticated, nearly impenetrable. Yet something inside her whispered that whatever was inside this room could either ruin Dominic or herself. Night fell and the city below twinkled like a web of fireflies. Aria sat by the window, staring at the skyline, her thoughts spinning. The realization struck her. She wasn't just married to a man. She was married to a network of power, secrecy, and danger she barely understood. Every word Dominic spoke, every glance he gave, seemed layered with hidden meaning. Then, as she turned to the study door one last time, she noticed a faint glow seeping from beneath it, a crack of light that hadn't been there before. Her breath caught. The door was supposed to be locked, but the subtle glow hinted at life or secrets hidden just beyond her reach. Her heart raced. The night promised no rest. Questions consumed her. Why did her parents agree to this marriage? What did Dominic hide behind that door? And most importantly, could she survive a world built on lies, power, and secrets she wasn't prepared for? Somewhere in the shadows of the penthouse, Dominic's silhouette moved silently. Aria realized with a chilling clarity that her life had become a puzzle with pieces she wasn't ready to understand. But that puzzle could either destroy her or give her the power to control everything. The morning sun cut through the city haze, illuminating the Caldwell penthouse in harsh, golden streaks. Aria couldn't eat, couldn't focus, couldn't stop thinking about the faint glow she had seen beneath the study door the night before. Something inside told her that today, she would step closer to the truth, whether she was ready or not. Dominic entered the living room with his usual precision. He wore a tailored suit, immaculately pressed, and carried the calm, commanding aura that made even the staff avert their gaze. His gray eyes lingered on Aria briefly, nodding her tension, her hesitation. "Good morning," he said, voice low, controlled. "I trust you slept reasonably well." Aria swallowed. Yes." Her lie sounded hollow, even to her own ears. Dominic's lips twitched, almost like a smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. "There's something you should see," he said, turning sharply toward the study. "It's time you understood a fragment of this world you've been thrust into." Aria's pulse surged. Her heart raced as he approached the door, producing a sleek, silver key from his pocket. The electronic lock clicked as it recognized the key. For the first time, the study door opened for her. Inside, the room was massive, lined with shelves that stretched to the ceiling, filled with books, folders, and artifacts she didn't recognize. But it wasn't the collection that made her gasp. It was the digital screens on the wall, flashing data, photos, and files with names she had never heard. Dominic gestured toward one of the large monitors. "This," he said, "is a small fragment of what we manage, influence, and sometimes manipulate." Aria's eyes widened. Corporate espionage, political documents, financial manipulation, all interconnected. And at the center was Dominic Caldwell, the man she had just married. Why didn't my parents tell me any of this?" she whispered. "Because," Dominic replied evenly, "they never understood it themselves. They thought marriage to me would protect you from threats they couldn't even imagine. But protection is complicated." Aria's gaze fell on a small file on the desk labeled Project Atlas. Against her better judgment, she opened it. Inside were confidential documents, photographs, and recordings that implicated high-profile businessmen and politicians in illegal dealings. Her stomach churned. The man she was married to wasn't just rich. He held the keys to power and secrets that could ruin nations. "And you did all this?" she asked, voice trembling. Dominic leaned back, his expression unreadable. "I inherited power, I protect it. I ensure survival, my survival, and occasionally the survival of those I care about." Aria's mind spun. Survival, she realized, meant manipulation, secrecy, and ruthless decisions. And she was now entwined in it all. A soft vibration on her phone interrupted her thoughts. A message from an unknown number appeared. "We see you, we know she's curious. Be careful, Dominic." Dominic's eyes darkened as he read the text. "They're watching," he said, "and now you are too." Aria swallowed hard. This marriage was no longer about family arrangements or wealth. It was about survival, power, and secrets that could destroy them both. Her curiosity had led her here, and now there was no turning back. As the day faded into night, Aria sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the ceiling. The revelation of Dominic's world had left her shaken, but a spark of determination ignited within her. She realized that if she wanted to survive and protect herself, she couldn't remain naive. She had to understand, learn, and act. And somewhere, deep in the shadows of the penthouse, Dominic watched her, recognizing the flicker of intelligence and curiosity that could either become her salvation or her greatest danger. The next morning, Aria woke with a restless energy. Sleep had offered no solace. Her mind replayed the digital screens and confidential files she had glimpsed in Dominic's study. Every detail she had seen hinted at power, influence, and danger. But there was one thing she couldn't shake: the name that appeared repeatedly in the documents, Larson Industries. Determined to understand, she quietly slipped past the silent staff and approached Dominic, who was reviewing reports in the sitting area. "Dominic, I need to ask you something," she began, her voice steady despite the flutter in her chest. "Who or what is Larson Industries?" Dominic's expression stiffened, his fingers pausing mid-scroll. He glanced at her, gray eyes sharp and unreadable. "Some things," he said slowly, "are better left alone. Larson Industries is a shadow. A name on paper, yes, but behind it are people who would see us both destroyed if they knew I had any connection to you." Aria's stomach dropped. "Destroyed? But why? What could I possibly have to do with them?" Dominic leaned back, gaze fixed on her. "Because, Aria, even your curiosity is dangerous. They watch everything, everyone. And now they are aware that you've seen things, seen me, beyond what any outsider should know." Her pulse quickened. Danger, real danger. It wasn't theoretical anymore, it had crossed into her world. Determined not to appear afraid, Aria asked the question that had been burning inside her. "Then, what do we do?" Dominic's jaw tightened. "We prepare. They won't come for us openly yet, but we must be vigilant. Every visitor, every message, every file could be a trap." Aria left his side, her mind spinning. She realized that the life she had been thrust into wasn't just luxurious. It was a battlefield of secrets, manipulation, and threats that could strike at any moment. Hours later, while organizing her room, Aria's eyes fell on a small, unmarked envelope tucked between her nightstand drawers. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside was a flash drive and a single note. "If you want the truth about Larson Industries, look carefully. But beware, they are always watching." A cold shiver ran down her spine. She inserted the flash drive into her laptop, revealing encrypted files, emails, and photographs that painted a shocking picture. Larson Industries wasn't just a corporation. It was a clandestine network involved in illegal activities, espionage, and manipulation of political and financial systems. Aria realized something terrifying. The man she had married wasn't merely wealthy, he was a target, and now she was a target too. Later that night, Dominic appeared at her door, his presence silent but commanding. He held 2 glasses of water and extended one toward her. "You've seen more than I expected," he said, voice low. "But that curiosity, it may be your greatest strength or your biggest mistake. Be careful, Aria. This isn't a game, it's survival. And the next move will determine whether we live or fall." Aria accepted the glass, hands shaking slightly. She looked into his eyes and saw a mix of caution, respect, and something else. Was it approval, or recognition that she might be capable of surviving this world after all? As she lay in bed that night, Aria made a silent vow. She would learn, she would fight, and if Larson Industries or anyone else wanted to control her life, they would have to contend with her first. And somewhere in the darkness of the penthouse, Dominic watched, knowing that the girl he had married had just taken her first step into a dangerous, high-stakes game that could either make her powerful or destroy her. Aria couldn't sleep. Every thought twisted around the images and files she had uncovered from the flash drive. Larson Industries was no ordinary company. It was a shadow in the world, invisible yet omnipresent, and now she was tangled in it, a pawn or perhaps a player, before she even knew the rules. The next morning, Dominic was gone. He had left early, leaving only a brief note on the sleek glass table. Do not attempt to access anything you don't understand. You'll know when it's time. But Aria's curiosity was stronger than caution. She opened her laptop again, determined to map the network of Larson Industries, cross-referencing the files, scanning for vulnerabilities, patterns, anything that could give her leverage. Hours passed like minutes as she dived deeper. She discovered an email trail between high-profile politicians and Larson executives, discussing offshore accounts, bribery, and covert operations that implicated several influential figures. One name caught her eye repeatedly: Adrian Keller, a charismatic yet ruthless business tycoon with ties to both Dominic and Larson Industries. Her pulse quickened. This was bigger than she had imagined. Adrian Keller wasn't just an associate. He was a potential threat, someone who could manipulate entire markets, ruin careers, and destroy lives with a single decision. And now, Aria knew he was aware of Dominic's marriage and her presence. Suddenly, a soft chime from her phone broke the tense silence. A message from an unknown number appeared. Stop digging, Aria. You don't understand what you're touching. Walk away before it's too late. Her hands shook, but her determination hardened. Walk away. She had never been one to retreat. If Larson Industries was a threat to her life, she needed to understand it fully, not run from it. Later that afternoon, she received a call from Dominic's assistant, Marlene. Miss Kensington, Dominic requested that you do not leave the penthouse until he returns. Security is heightened. Aria knew that meant she was being monitored. Every click of her laptop, every movement could be tracked. But that only fueled her resolve. She began devising a careful plan to investigate without alerting Adrian Keller or Larson Industries. Hours later, a soft knock echoed from her bedroom door. It was Dominic, back earlier than expected. His expression was unreadable, but there was a tension in his movements she hadn't noticed before. You've been busy, he observed, his gray eyes sharp. I see you've started looking into Larson Industries. I had to know, Aria admitted, swallowing hard. I can't be just a spectator in this world, Dominic. I need to understand it and protect myself. Dominic's gaze softened slightly, though a storm lingered beneath the surface. Knowledge is dangerous, Aria. The deeper you dig, the more perilous it becomes. But I also see that you might survive it. That spark in you, it's rare. He handed her a small, sleek card. This is a contact. Use it wisely. Someone I trust. If you're going to investigate, you won't do it alone, but you must stay hidden. If Keller or anyone else senses you're probing, there's no coming back. Aria held the card tightly, a mix of fear and exhilaration coursing through her veins. This was the first time she felt in control of her own fate, even if just a little. As night fell, she sat by the floor-to-ceiling windows, overlooking the city. The skyline glittered innocently, oblivious to the storm brewing in the hearts of the powerful. Aria's mind raced. How deep did Adrian Keller's influence reach? How much of Dominic's world was built on manipulation? And how much on survival? And most importantly, could she, a barely 18-year-old thrust into this life, truly navigate the shadows without being consumed by them? Somewhere in the penthouse, Dominic watched silently. For the first time, he didn't intervene. He let her take the first real step into the dangerous world she had married into, a world where one wrong move could destroy both her and him. But Aria wasn't backing down. She was ready to play her first move, and the game had only just begun. Night had fallen over the city, but the Caldwell penthouse remained illuminated, a fortress of glass and steel overlooking streets that had no idea of the storm brewing above them. Aria sat at her desk, her laptop open, tracing connections between Adrian Keller, Larson Industries, and Dominic's empire. Every file, every email, every hidden transaction revealed a layer of danger she hadn't anticipated. Hours of research led her to a revelation. Adrian Keller had been orchestrating a series of hostile takeovers in the corporate world, eliminating anyone who could challenge him, including Dominic. And now, her presence, her curiosity, had made her a liability. A sudden ping from her laptop startled her. A video file had appeared in an encrypted folder she hadn't seen before. With trepidation, she opened it. The screen flickered to life, revealing a masked figure speaking directly to her. "Aria Kensington, you've seen too much. Step back now, or the consequences will be irreversible." Her breath caught. This wasn't a generic threat, it was personal. Someone knew she was investigating, and they were watching her in real time. Before she could react, her room's security alarm blared, a silent warning to the penthouse's guards. Panic surged as she realized someone had just breached the outer perimeter. Instinctively, she grabbed the small card Dominic had given her earlier and dialed the secure number. A calm, yet authoritative voice answered. "Aria, keep calm. You're being watched, but stay where you are. Don't make sudden moves. Help is on the way." It was Dominic's contact, a former intelligence operative, trained to handle exactly this kind of threat. Aria's hands shook, but she followed instructions precisely, moving to a hidden safe room behind a bookshelf. Minutes felt like hours. Outside, she could hear faint movement in the penthouse corridors, subtle but deliberate. Whoever had infiltrated this space wasn't here for petty theft. They were after information. Her information. Suddenly, her phone vibrated again. Another message, this time from Adrian Keller himself. "Curiosity is dangerous, little bride. Stop now or you'll regret it." The threat sent shivers down her spine, but for the first time, fear was tempered with resolve. She wasn't just a naive teenager anymore. She was a player, and she had tools, allies, and determination. A series of muffled noises signaled that Dominic's contact had engaged the intruders. Within moments, the penthouse's security system activated fully. Reinforced locks, surveillance lockdown, and silent alerts to local authorities. The masked figure had underestimated the intelligence and resources protecting Aria, and Dominic's network was vast. When the intruders finally retreated, Aria emerged cautiously from the safe room. Dominic had returned quietly, standing behind her, gray eyes assessing her like a general surveying a battlefield. "You handled that exceptionally," he said, his voice low, a mix of approval and warning. "Few would have survived a direct threat today. But know this, Adrian Keller isn't finished. He will escalate, and so must we." Aria's chest heaved. She realized something profound. The world she had been thrust into was not just about secrets and wealth. It was about survival, strategy, and courage under fire. And she had just faced her first real test. As she looked out at the city below, the lights twinkling innocently, she felt a surge of determination. Adrian Keller had made his first move, but Aria was ready to counter. This was no longer about curiosity or fear. It was about reclaiming control over her life, and she would not back down. The city lights flickered below the Caldwell penthouse, but inside, the air felt heavy with unspoken tension. Aria sat at the glass table, her laptop open, reviewing every detail from the previous night's intrusion. Adrian Keller wasn't just a threat. He was meticulous, patient, and ruthless. Every move she made now would be scrutinized. Every word could be used against her. Dominic entered silently, his presence commanding the room. "I trust you slept," he asked, his voice calm but edged with concern. Aria shook her head slightly. "I can't stop thinking about Keller and how he's watching me. We can't just wait for him to make the next move." Dominic's gray eyes softened for a fraction of a second before hardening. "You're right. It's time to act, but carefully. One misstep and it won't just be your life at risk. It will be mine too." Aria nodded, determination burning in her chest. "I want to help. I want to fight back." Dominic studied her, measuring her resolve. "Then you need allies, trusted ones. People who can operate in shadows, shield you from Keller's influence and provide intelligence. I have a few contacts, but trust will be your hardest test. Hours later, Aria was introduced to Lucas, a discreet and sharp former intelligence agent Dominic had once relied on. His presence exuded calm authority, but his eyes betrayed a lifetime of seeing betrayal firsthand. "You've seen the threats, Miss Kensington," he said, his voice neutral but firm. "Now you'll learn how to anticipate them. Keller doesn't act alone, he has networks, connections you can't imagine. Every friend could be a spy, every ally could turn." The weight of his words pressed on Aria. She realized that the world she was stepping into wasn't just dangerous, it was psychological warfare. Over the next few days, Aria, Dominic, and Lucas worked tirelessly, cross-referencing data, uncovering shell companies, secret communications, and hidden assets tied to Keller. But amidst strategy sessions and digital warfare, a subtle, chilling unease gnawed at her. Someone close could be feeding Keller information. Then it happened. A casual conversation with Marlene, Dominic's assistant, revealed an unsettling truth. A minor slip, a comment too precise, too informed. Marlene knew something she shouldn't. Aria's heart thumped. Could Marlene, someone she had trusted by proximity, be a mole? That night, Aria confronted Dominic quietly. I think someone inside is betraying us. Marlene, I don't know if she can be trusted." Dominic's jaw tightened. "Trust is a luxury we don't have, but appearances can deceive. We must act carefully. Test loyalty without exposing suspicion. One wrong move and Keller will strike." The realization hit Aria hard. Even the people she interacted with daily could be working against her. Fear mingled with adrenaline. Every smile, every gesture, every whispered conversation was now suspect. Days blurred as Aria honed her skills in observation, code breaking, and shadow analysis under Lucas's guidance. She learned subtle cues, patterns in behavior, and digital footprints. Every discovery sharpened her instincts and emboldened her mind. But the final blow came unexpectedly. While checking secure messages, she discovered a direct line between Keller and someone in the penthouse. A brief exchange that revealed plans for Dominic's downfall. Shock and betrayal cut deep. She realized that the betrayal wasn't just external, it had infiltrated her home, her sanctuary, and possibly her heart. Dominic noticed her pallor and clenched fists. "You found it," he said softly. "Yes, the shadows are closer than you think. And yes, sometimes the most dangerous people are the ones who claim to protect you." Aria's pulse raced. The luxurious penthouse, once a symbol of safety and power, now felt like a cage of secrets and treachery. But amidst fear, one truth emerged. She was no longer a pawn, she was a player. And she would fight, no matter the cost. That night, as she looked out over the city, Aria made a silent promise. No one, not Keller, not a traitor inside, not even Dominic's world of ruthless power, would control her destiny without a fight. The morning after the first strike, the penthouse felt heavier. Aria hadn't slept. Her mind raced, replaying every moment from the previous night, every beep, every shadow, every subtle movement. Keller's reach was undeniable, and the danger had become intensely personal. But something else gnawed at her. The unsettling realization that Dominic, the man she had married, might not have told her everything about his past or his enemies. Lucas had briefed her on Keller's operations, showing her encrypted maps, offshore accounts, and shell corporations. But there was a pattern in Keller's attacks that suggested he knew intimate details about Dominic's personal life. Someone had fed him information from inside their home. Aria confronted Dominic quietly, standing at the edge of the living room. The sunlight glinted off the glass walls, but it did nothing to warm the icy tension between them. "Dominic, someone in this penthouse is betraying us," she said, voice tight. "I can feel it. Keller knows too much, things only we should know. Who is it?" Dominic's gray eyes softened for a fraction of a second before hardening. "I suspected it," he admitted, "but revealing it now could be dangerous. You need to trust me, Aria, even if trust feels impossible." Her heart raced. "I want to trust you, but if we're going to survive, I need to know, do we have a traitor in our midst?" He hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Yes, but it's complicated. It's someone close to someone you would never suspect. someone who has been protecting the wrong person all along. Aria's stomach churned. Was it Marlene? Lucas? Someone else entirely? Fear and adrenaline collided in a storm she had never known before. Hours later, she found herself alone in the study, scanning files for any overlooked clue. Then, a hidden folder on the flash drive she had used earlier flickered to life. Inside were photographs, documents, and recordings, evidence of Marlene meeting with Adrian Keller in a downtown cafe just a week ago. Her breath caught. The assistant she had trusted, the person Dominic had reassured her about, was feeding Keller critical intelligence. The betrayal cut deeper than any external threat. Aria confronted Marlene in the hallway, her voice trembling but firm. Why? After everything, why betray us? Marlene's eyes hardened, no hint of regret. It's not personal, Aria, it's survival. Keller has power. Dominic, even he can't protect you forever. I'm choosing the side that keeps me alive. Aria felt the room tilt. Trust had fractured. Every shadow, every glance, every smile was now suspect. But beneath the shock, a new resolve crystallized. She wouldn't be broken, not by Keller, not by Marlene, not by fear. That evening, Dominic revealed his plan. We anticipated this, he said quietly. Marlene was never beyond reach. We've used her as a litmus test, an opportunity to expose Keller's network and weaknesses. The real strike comes now, Aria. Are you ready? Aria's pulse surged. She realized the stakes weren't just her life. They were Dominic's, their marriage, and the balance of power Keller sought to destroy. As night fell, Aria and Dominic prepared for the counteroffensive. The betrayal of someone so close had shattered illusions, but it had also forged something stronger. A bond of trust tested by fire and a resolve sharpened by danger. Looking out over the city once more, Aria whispered to herself, I am no longer just a bride, a pawn, or a witness. I am a player. And tonight we strike back. The penthouse was quiet, but the tension was deafening. Every light, every shadow, every faint sound held meaning. Aria and Dominic had spent hours preparing for this moment, the culmination of strategy, betrayal, and survival. Adrian Keller had pushed, threatened, and tested them. Now it was time to turn the tables. Aria sat at the laptop, fingers poised over the keyboard, heart racing. Lucas monitored the network feeds, eyes sharp and alert. The counterstrike was surgical, precise, and dangerous. A single mistake could undo everything. Are you ready? Dominic asked, his hand brushing hers briefly, a subtle reminder that she wasn't alone. Aria nodded. I've never been more ready. With a final keystroke, the operation began. Keller's network was exposed, shell corporations unmasked, offshore accounts frozen, and secret communications revealed to authorities and trusted allies simultaneously. Almost immediately, chaos erupted. Keller's carefully constructed empire of fear and manipulation began to crumble. Emails leaked, partnerships dissolved, and his agents scattered as Dominic's team moved like shadows, intercepting every retaliation attempt. Then came the moment Aria had feared and anticipated, direct confrontation. Keller appeared via live video feed, eyes blazing with fury. You think this ends with a keystroke, little bride? He snarled. You have no idea what you've started. Aria's voice was steady, cold, and sharp. I'm done hiding. I'm done being afraid. This is our world now, Keller, and you're done controlling it. Keller's silence was brief before the feed cut. The penthouse erupted in a mix of relief and tension. Dominic pulled Aria close, gray eyes softening. Pride mingled with unspoken gratitude. You did it, he murmured. You survived, you fought, and you struck back. I underestimated how strong you are. Aria exhaled, the adrenaline finally ebbing. We did it together. Outside, the city lights flickered innocently, unaware of the storm that had just passed above. Inside, trust had been tested, betrayal confronted, and a young bride had become a force in a dangerous world of power, secrets, and survival. Aria looked out at the skyline, determination in her eyes. She was no longer a pawn, she was a player, and her life, her marriage, was finally on her own terms. If you enjoyed following Aria's journey through danger, betrayal, and empowerment, don't forget to like and subscribe for more thrilling storytelling that will keep you on the edge of your seat.